Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with Torta di Riso. That's right, this delicious Italian rice pie is generally made as a dessert, but it's also wonderful in savory form, which is what we're going to do here utilizing some leeks and spinach. And besides making for a very easy lunch or side dish, this is also perfect for playing a practical joke in your family. Yes, you tell them you're having pie later, and then you bring this out and crush their dreams. But don't worry, one taste and all will be forgiven. So let me show you how to put this together. And step one is sauteing the leeks. So we're going to put a large skillet down on medium heat with a little bit of olive oil. And we're going to dump in a couple chopped leeks with a big pinch of salt. And we're just going to saute those until they're kind of soft and sweet. And that might take 5 minutes. That might take 10 minutes. I refuse to commit to a specific time, but you'll know. Just give them a stir once in a while. Keep an eye on them. And when they start to get pretty soft and just pretty in general, that's pretty much it. And when they reach that point, they really should look something like this. And then what we're going to do at that point is make a little space in the center, and we'll toss in about 3 cloves of finely minced garlic, and we'll go ahead and mix that in and saute that for about a minute. So stir that garlic in, let it cook for about 60 seconds, and then all we're going to do is turn off the heat and just set that aside until needed, which is going to be very soon. So our leek and garlic mixture is set, and it's on to the rest of the ingredients. The first and probably most important is the rice. So we're going to need a couple cups of cooked rice. Okay, this recipe is perfect for when you have leftover rice, quite possibly from a Thai dinner the night before. And then to that, we're going to add some chopped, cooked fresh spinach. And as long as you squeeze it very dry, you can use frozen spinach, no problem. But of course, we're going to use fresh because we're better than that. But regardless, make sure it's squeezed perfectly dry and chopped pretty fine. And then to that, let's go ahead and add our leek mixture. We're also going to need some beaten eggs to kind of bind this together a little bit. So we'll pour those in. And then a whole bunch of freshly grated Reggiano Parmesan. And for this, it's totally fine to use the fake cheap kind. I'm just kidding. It's totally not all right. Use the good stuff. And then after the cheese goes in, let's go ahead and season this up with some salt, of course, and a good amount. This will be totally bland if you undersalt it. We'll also put in some freshly ground black pepper, and of course a couple shakes of cayenne. And yes, one of these days I will do a video explaining the cayenne fetish. And then I think we should also give it a little pinch of nutmeg. Of course, we're going to use freshly grated. By the way, can I call that a nut? Because if it's not and I call it a nut, people will go nuts. But anyway, a little bit of nutmeg. And then let's go ahead and spatulate this until it's thoroughly combined. And take your time. Chopped fresh spinach is notorious for kind of clumping together. And we don't want any pockets of pure spinach. And as I'm mixing this, I should tell you, this is perfect for using other summer veggies. Just cook the veggies tender, chop them up, and throw them in. It's fine, trust me. So give this a very thoughtful mixing. And once you're sure that's happened, just go ahead and set that aside while we prep our pan or dish. And in my case, I'm using a glass pie dish. But really, any heat-proof pan or dish is going to work. And what we'll do is we'll grease this with a little bit of olive oil, brush that all over, and then I like to give it a little extra sprinkling of cheese before we dump everything in. And I really don't know if that has any effect, but you know what? I'm not going to take any chances. And then, yes, you guessed it. Let's go ahead and transfer our mixture into the dish, and we'll take our spatula and we'll smooth that out and make sure it's all perfectly distributed, or distributed if you prefer. And then once we've done that and that surface is nice and smooth, let's go ahead and give it a little old tappa-tappa. Just for good luck. And then before we pop this in, let's go ahead and dust the top with a little more parm. And that is ready to bake. So we're going to transfer that into the center of a 350-degree oven for about 35 to 40 minutes. Or until it looks like this. It should be lightly browned around the outside, around the outside, around the outside, and a little firm to the touch. And at that point, we have many options. We can eat it piping hot like this. We can let it cool to just barely warm, which I think is the perfect way to serve it. Or there's even some freaks in nature that like this cold. So you really can enjoy this at any temperature. But like I said, I like mine warm. So let me cut a slice. And here, unfortunately, my fancy pie spatula serving thing was not flexible enough to get in here. So I switched to the palette knife, which worked better. And right about here, your family's finally realizing they're not having dessert pie. But don't worry, one taste and they're totally going to forget about your cruel joke. So we'll go ahead and serve that up. And that spinach and leek Torta di Riso is done. So let's dig in for the official taste. And you can see the texture fairly dense, but still nice and moist. And like I said earlier, you can totally adapt this, use all kinds of different peppers and vegetables, different cheeses. Although, you know what? Don't do this with kale. We're doing too many things with kale. Let's just relax with the kale for a minute. But anyway, just very tasty, very delicious, very comforting. And as the old saying goes, and by saying I mean commercial, this is good and good for you. So I really hope you give this a try. Head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.